හරිම සුමුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Saturday the 30th of March 2024. The Chinese connection. China and Sri Lanka agree to deepen high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. Assistance guaranteed to ease Sri Lanka's debt burden, claims China. Eyes on the prize. India and Sri Lanka are ready to capitalize on emerging opportunities. Both nations agree to review bilateral projects on quarterly basis. Sacked. SLFP's top brass sacked by party chairman Maithripala Sirisena. Meanwhile, the political arena heats up as elections draw close.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From Ada Derana, this is Ada Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Singh joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now in your top story tonight, China expressed its readiness to continue supporting Sri Lanka play a positive role in the International Monetary Fund to help Sri Lanka ease its financial difficulties and achieve debt sustainability. In a joint statement on outcomes of Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena's visit to China, both Sri Lanka and China agreed to work together to deepen high-quality Belt and Road cooperation and accelerate the formulation of a Belt and Road cooperation plan. Sri Lanka, meanwhile, says it welcomes the investment of more Chinese enterprises and stands ready to provide a favorable investment and business environment for them.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena recently paid an official visit to China and attended the Bao Forum for Asia annual conference. During the meetings, he held high-level discussions with top Chinese leaders, including President Xi Jinping, Premier Li Qiang, and Chairman of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, Xiao Leji. Following the conclusion of the Sri Lankan Premier's visit, a joint statement was issued highlighting that both the countries agree to jointly tackle challenges, share opportunities and seek common development, thereby cementing and expanding the China-Sri Lanka strategic cooperative partnership based on sincere mutual assistance and everlasting friendship to bring greater benefits to the two countries and its people. The statement read that the two sides reaffirmed their mutual support on issues concerning each other's co-interests and major concerns. While highlighting that Sri Lanka reaffirms its firm commitment to the One China principle, the island nation reiterated that it will never allow its territory to be used for any anti-China secessionist activities. China, meanwhile, reiterated that it will continue to firmly support Sri Lanka in upholding national independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity, and show respect for and support Sri Lanka in independently choosing a development path suited for its national conditions. Further, China expressed its readiness to continue supporting its financial institution in actively consulting with Sri Lanka, maintain friendly communication with other creditors, and to play a positive role in the International Monetary Fund to help Sri Lanka ease its financial difficulties and achieve its sustainability. The Sri Lanka-China joint statement read that both the sides agreed to work together to deepen high-quality Belt and Road cooperation, accelerate the formulation of a Belt and Road cooperation plan, and to make all-out efforts to advance the Colombo Port City project and the integrated development project of Hambantota Port as signature projects of Belt and Road cooperation between the two countries. Sri Lanka, meanwhile, says it welcomes the investments of more Chinese enterprises and stands ready to provide a favorable investment and businessman environment for them and roll out at a faster pace preferential policies to facilitate the implementation of the Colombo Port City and Hambantota Port integrated development projects. The statement added that China will continue to encourage competent Chinese enterprises to invest in Sri Lanka and assist Sri Lanka in achieving economic transformation and sustainable development. The two sides expressed readiness to strengthen coordination and deepen exchanges and cooperation in fields including disaster prevention and mitigation, maritime rescue, relief and research, maritime domain awareness, marine biological diversity, maritime personnel training and capacity building. Further, both parties are expected to explore cooperation on the blue economy for the building of a maritime community with a shared future, and added that periodical bilateral consultations on maritime affairs will be held by both sides.
New Dulux Pentolite Hygiene Plus. Refreshing walls for generations.
Now taking you from China to India in a bid to further extend the historically long-standing economic link between the two countries, India and Sri Lanka once again held discussions on enhancing bilateral connectivity. During a meeting that took place in New Delhi with the Sri Lankan delegation headed by Chief of Presidential Staff Sagal Ratnayaka, Indian Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra, who acknowledged the positive momentum in Sri Lanka's economic growth, is of the view that the current juncture presents an opportune moment for both countries to advance agreed-upon projects. Further, the discussions also underscored the shared commitment of Sri Lanka and India to strengthen the partnership between the two nations and foster greater economic collaboration.
At the invitation of Indian Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra, a Sri Lankan delegation headed by Senior Advisor to the President on National Security and Chief of Presidential Staff Sagal Ratnayaka visited India recently and held discussions to assess bilateral economic connectivity projects between the two countries. During discussions, the Indian Foreign Secretary, who acknowledged the positive momentum in Sri Lanka's economic growth, emphasized that the current juncture presents an opportune moment for both countries to advance agreed-upon projects, attributing this progress to the strategic vision of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. In response, Sagal Ratnayaka briefed the Indian Foreign Secretary on ongoing negotiations with the IMF and underscored the imperative of pursuing economic growth. He highlighted the importance of enhancing economic integration with India through improved connectivity, reflecting on the historical ties that bind the two nations as the closest neighbors. The President's office stated that both sides during the discussions conducted a comprehensive review of all bilateral projects, focusing on their timely implementation. Further, it was mutually agreed to engage in this review progress on a quarterly basis, demonstrating a commitment to ensuring effective progress in bilateral economic cooperation. The discussions also underscored the shared commitment of Sri Lanka and India to strengthen the partnership and foster greater economic collaboration. The President's office claims that with both nations poised to capitalize on emerging opportunities, the discussions in New Delhi marked a significant step forward in deepening bilateral ties and advancing mutual interests.
And now taking you to some local political news. Hot off the heels, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Maithripala Sirisena, removed Duminda Dissanayaka, Lasantha Alagiyawanna and Mahinda Amaravira from their respective positions in the party during a meeting held at the party headquarters with the participation of the party's executive committee members and electoral seat organisers. However, the sacked members claim that the move of the former president was illegal and that he executed it amidst objections of the majority of the party. Meanwhile, Minister of Justice, who was present at the meeting, is of the view that the Sri Lanka Freedom Party should secure the country's political power.
A meeting between the executive committee members and electoral seat organisers of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party was held this morning under the patronage of its party chairman, former President Maithripala Sirisena. Minister of Justice Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa was also invited to the meeting to deliver a special lecture. During the meeting, a decision was made to remove the parliamentarians who hold ministerial portfolios and support the government while holding top positions within the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. As a result, Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira was removed from his position as the Senior Vice President, while Duminda Dissanayaka and Lasantha Alagiyawanna were stripped of their positions as the National Organiser and Treasurer respectively. Following their removals, former Central Province Chief Minister Sarath Ekanayaka was appointed as the party's Senior Vice President. SLFP's Mahiyangana Constituency Organiser K.P. Gunawardena was appointed to the post of National Organiser, while former Minister of the Western Provincial Council Hector Bethmage was appointed as the party's new Treasurer.
All those who were removed from their positions are thieves. They have a foot in each camp. They launched a conspiracy sponsored by the UNP. However, it came to an end today.
I came to deliver a guest lecture to emphasize the fact that the Sri Lanka Freedom Party should come forward and secure the political power of this country. The only power that can resurrect the country is the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. I explained to them how they can secure power by actively engaging with the people.
Later, the SLFP party members who were stripped of their respective positions addressed the media.
As the chairman of the party, former President Maithripala Sirisena delivered a speech. At the conclusion of his speech, he said that Dumindi Sahanayaka, Lasanthala Gewanna and I would be removed from our positions. Then he asked the members to approve it. At least 1/4 of the members did not approve it. However, he said that he will consider our resignations accepted. We requested that he provide an opportunity to express our views. However, he didn't agree to it. Amidst objections against his decision, he left the premises. Our removals are completely legal.
As we said earlier, we will form a strong alliance which will lead the next president to victory and secure political power.
The accusation that was leveled against me was that I failed to form the alliance. Constitutionally, the alliance with the Podujana Eksat Peramuna has been formed. The only problem is that the alliance refuses to accept the SLFP leader as the leader of the alliance. I cannot do anything about it. Given the current situation, these kind of acts from Maithripala Sirisena do not come as a surprise.
Now in other political news, leader of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Sajith Premadasa, stated that he will bring a constitutional amendment which protects the rights of the youth, including rights to education and health. Addressing a gathering in Mathura, the opposition leader, requesting the youth of Mathura to support his party, went on to say that it is the SJB that will uplift the youth of Sri Lanka in its true essence.
A public rally of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya was held in Mathura today under the patronage of its leader Sajith Premadasa.
For the first time in the 76 years of democratic political history of this country, we have been able to work without power. As of now, we have donated equipment worth 139 million rupees to strengthen the country's free education. I request the youth of the Mathura district to support us as we have proven ourselves by working without power. It is the SJB that will uplift the youth of Sri Lanka. I pledge to the youth of the Mathura district that we will commence the development drive of the country. We will work towards bringing an amendment to the constitution enshrining the rights of the youth, which encapsulates economic, social, political and religious rights, right to education as well as the right to health.
Now, leader of the Maubima Janata Party, Dilith Jayavira, claimed that the SLPP should nominate him as the presidential candidate for the upcoming election, while also asserting that Basil Rajapaksa does not own the SLPP. In the meantime, chairman of the Maubima Janata Party, Dr. Sarath Amanugama, stated that his party was established to transform Sri Lanka into a nation where its people are incentivized to stay rather than leave. The Badulla district rally of the Maubima Janata Party was held at the Simon Peris Memorial Hall in Badulla this morning under the patronage of its leader Dilith Jayavira.
The Maubima Janata Party is a new party under a new leadership and a new work plan. Usually fearless people come forward initially to try something new. All of you gathered here today to transform Sri Lanka are fearless men and women.
Our leaders always used to give us subsidies. Why did they keep on granting them? All living beings of the world feel hunger. Certain world leaders have weaponized hunger. Our rulers in Sri Lanka govern the country using hunger as a weapon. We need to change that.
Our people are very innocent with a 200-year-long history. We are the first entrepreneurs in this country who pioneered the tea industry. However, we still live in extremely small houses. We must change that, and you must put together a plan on how to make those changes. I urge you to form a team comprising well-educated and skilled youth who can walk the path that you suggest.
ඒ මෑන් පවරක ඔබතුමා හදලා හොඳ මාර්ගයක් මේකද අරලා දෙන්න කියලා මං ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
අද අපේ ජනගහනය ලක්ෂ 220යි. අපිට නිදහස ලැබෙනකොට
Our population today stands at 22 million. When we gained independence, our population stood at 7.7 million. Our population has seen immense growth during the last 76 years. However, 4 million Sri Lankans are currently overseas. Sri Lanka is a country where its own people want to live today. We created our party in order to transform our country into a nation where people want to stay.
මේ රට ඉන්න පුළුවන් රටක් බවට පත් කරන්න තමයි අපේ පක්ෂය අපි ඇති කරේ.
69 ලක්ෂයක් මිනිස්සු ඡන්දෙ දුන්නේ බැසිල්ට නෙමෙයි.
6.9 million people did not cast their votes to either Basil or Namal. Mahinda Rajapaksa has our respect for ending the war and bringing peace to the country. However, he should have rectified the wrongs of his family and led them along the correct path. We have stated several times that 6.9 million people of this country do not have leadership. Why? 6.9 million people of this country do not want Ranil Wickremesinghe to hold the office of president for 2 terms consecutively. 6.9 million people rejected Ranil Wickremesinghe. The SLPP will betray the trust of their voters once again if they nominate Ranil Wickremesinghe as the candidate of the SLPP. I drew the SLPP logo. I wrote its motto. We own the SLPP. I am disappointed to say that the SLPP does not belong to Basil Rajapaksa, who visits Sri Lanka for vacations and leads people as if they are his slaves. He states that the general election has to be held first. Who is he? Should an American decide which election must be held first in Sri Lanka? The people of this country must raise those concerns now. I saw Prasanna Ranatunga recently claiming that the SLPP does not have a presidential candidate. Only Basil's SLPP lacks a presidential candidate. The People's SLPP has a candidate, and that is me, Dilith Jayavira. Nominate me as the candidate. Now, meanwhile, national organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa, says his party does not agree with certain policies and proposals of the government. Addressing a rally in Hambantota, Rajapaksa called on all the parliamentarians who left the party due to disputes to sit with them for discussions and unite in the interest of Sri Lanka's future.
The Hambantota District Convention of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was held this afternoon in Tangol.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදුජන පෙරමුණේ අභිනව ජාතික සංවිධායක නාමල් රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමන්ගේ ගෞරවනීය සම්ප්‍රාප්තිය ඕට්ටුවට සෙනග නැහැ කියලා හිතුවා.
They said that the SLPP will not have supporters. They said that the SLPP was unable to nominate a candidate for the presidential election. Once the election is called, we will reveal who the candidate is. Please call for an election within 2 months. The SLPP will claim victory in both elections and form a government.
Later, the leader of the party, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, arrived at the convention.
All of you know about the struggle. There was a conspiracy behind it. When the election is closed, we will reveal all that with evidence.
We formed a government with so many expectations. However, the government was toppled through a conspiracy, and that is the truth. We do not agree with some of the proposals and policies implemented by the present government. We did not construct an airport to store paddy. We did not construct a port to sell it off to a foreign nation. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna is a political party of the new generation. There have been disputes among our members in the recent past. Some of them are due to policies, while others are due to politics. I invite those parliamentarians for discussions. Let's unite. Many people claim the mandate of the 6.9 million people. However, I'm happy that all of them are sharing the mandate which is owned by my father.
Minister of Tourism Harin Fernandes stated that a collaboration between the United National Party and the Samagi Jana Balawegaya will benefit opposition leader Sajith Premadasa during the election. He went on to say that the unofficial discussions pertaining to this collaboration are taking place at the moment.
තාම ඉතින් නිල වශයෙන් සාකච්ඡා නැහැ. නමුත් නිල නොලත් මට්ටමින් ඉතින් කොංකොං වල සාකච්ඡා වෙනවා.
ඒ කියන්නේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහතා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතා එකතු වෙලා ගමනක් යයිද?
එහෙම එකතු වෙලා ගියොත් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයාට හොඳයි. ඒක තුලා ගියේ නැත්නම් එකතු වෙන දවස් මාතේ තනියයි.
මාතට හොඳයි කියන්නේ ඇයි?
ඉතින් එහෙම නැතුලා එතුමාගේ පක්ෂ අනිත් කට්ටිය ගොත එතුමා කොහෙන් ඉල්ලන්නද? එතුමා කාත් එක්ක යන්නද?
කියන්නේ අපගේ ජනබලවේගයේ එකතු වෙයි කියන බලාපොරොත්තු ඔබතුමා ළඟ තියෙන්නේ.
එහෙම නොවුනත් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා ඉල්ලයි. එහෙම නොවුනොත් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මහත්තයා තනි වෙයි කියන බය මට තියෙනවා. ඉතින් මම තාමත් එතුමාට ආදරේ. ඉතින් මම හිතනවා එතුමාට හොඳයි දෙවනියා විදියට පොඩි ගමනක් ගිහිල්ලා අත්දැකීම් ලබා ගන්න එක මගේ පරණ නායකයෙකුට මම හිතනවා එතුමාට හොඳයි කියලා.
ඒ කියන්නේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතා පොදු අපේක්ෂකයා හැටියට එයිද?
අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම එතුමා තමයි පොදු අපේක්ෂකයා වෙන්නේ. එතුමා ඇරෙන්න වෙන විකල්පයක් නැහැ කියන එකයි මට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ.
Now in other local news, 2 individuals were struck dead in Ragama today by a train plying from Kandy to Colombo. Meanwhile, a notorious drug trafficker named Lokeshan Kudumalli was apprehended by police yesterday along with 6 grams of heroin in possession. With that, here's a look at more news across the island in brief.
2 individuals were killed after being struck by a train travelling from Kandy to Colombo. According to initial reports, the unfortunate accidents took place separately in 2 different locations in Ragama. Accordingly, the fatal accidents occurred at the Ragama Junction railway station and the Tuduvegedara area in Ragama. In the meantime, a notorious drug trafficker named Lokeshan Kudumalli was apprehended by police yesterday along with 6 grams of heroin in possession. The arrest was made during a raid carried out yesterday based on a tip-off received by the Badalgama police. During interrogations, the suspect revealed that he had been trafficking drugs to several areas including Minuwangoda, Nilpanagoda, Henpitigedara, Galkanda, Dunagaha, Katuwellegama and Aluttepala for a while. Badalgama police secured detention orders to detain the suspect for interrogations after he was produced before the Minuwangoda Magistrates Court. In other related news, a special raid was conducted in Kandy in line with the Yuktya special operation earlier this morning. During the operation, 3 persons along with narcotic substances were apprehended by the police in Kandy.
Welcome back. Now in your top local business story for the evening, the actual number of raids conducted by the Consumer Affairs Authority has seen a reduction compared against targeted raids from 74% to 56% between 2018 and 2022. Those revelations were made by the National Audit Office through a recent report on Consumer Affairs Authority's contribution to protect consumer rights. Noting key facts and figures on the report, the National Audit Office advised the Consumer Affairs Authority to increase the number of raids on traders selling beyond the maximum retail price as well as on importers and wholesalers.
A special report was compiled by the National Audit Office outlining the Consumer Affairs Authority's contribution to protect consumers. The audit aims to evaluate the performance of the CAA in implementing the provisions of the Consumer Affairs Act and achieve the objectives mentioned in the legislation. During the period between 2018 to 2022, the report observed a decline in actual raids from 74% to 56% compared against targeted raids. Accordingly, the National Audit Office made recommendations to the Consumer Affairs Authority to increase the number of raids on traders selling beyond the maximum retail price as well as on importers and wholesalers. Meanwhile, the audit recommended the CAA to identify the types of imported goods required to be issued the maximum retail price certification and impose new directives on them. Further, the audit report also recommended that market raids be conducted and legal action be taken against importers who do not present information to the authority to obtain the maximum retail price certificates. In addition, the CAA is also instructed to physically verify the prices before granting approval to the rates submitted by the importers to obtain the MRP certificates. The report also called for expeditious legal action against traders and manufacturers who were caught with stocks of goods found to be unfit for consumption or not in the prescribed standard during the sample inspection.
Now let's take a look at the corporate news segment for the evening.
The HSBC Ceylon Literary and Art Festival, in collaboration with Dilma Ceylon Tea, was inaugurated in Kandy. The event also marked the launch of the Future Writers Programme. Dedicated to nurturing the creative talents of young individuals, this competition underscores the festival's commitment to fostering youth development and grooming the creative thinking, enhancing its focus on empowering the next generation. The competition further reinforces the festival's dedication to fostering creativity and providing opportunities for youth to engage with and contribute to the cultural landscape of Sri Lanka. NDB Bank, meanwhile, announced its collaboration with the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka as the official banking partner of their professional women's chapter, underscoring NDB's commitment to empowering women and promoting gender equality in Sri Lanka. NDB remains steadfast in its mission to champion gender equality and contribute to socio-economic development. DFCC Bank emerged triumphant as the overall winner at the recently concluded CPM Best Management Practices Company Awards 2024, presented by the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. In addition to the top spot, DFCC Bank also was adjudged the winner of the banking sector private category and received the Excellence Award for Best Management Practice in recognition of the bank's network-wide paperless drive implemented in line with its strategic sustainability framework.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Adaderana First at 9. Stay in touch with us on www.adaderana.lk for the latest developments around the clock. Thank you. Have a great night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit adaderana.lk.